a show that dissects the late 90s, turn of the century Batman Super Saga presented by the students of S.H.I.E.L.D. My name is Vincent Faust, and I am joined by my fellow host,
Michael Colley.
Welcome to the show, Michael. Just us two riding this time, and we are talking about just two issues this time. This is the arc Scratched Out, told across S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of the Bat number 56 and 57. Both issues written by Dennis O'Neil and drawn by Roger Robinson, correct? Roger?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Roger.
Correct.
So, Michael, take us away with the first part.
Okay, so we start off this issue with a fun cover by Roger Robinson, who also drew the interiors. It's Azrael and Cassandra as Batgirl descending in front of the moon and the skyline of Gotham. And that sets up how Batman's paired up those two for this mission, as we mentioned before, and how maybe that doesn't make the most tactical sense, but they seem to have had story reasons for wanting to explore those characters together. But anyway, we begin this issue kind of unusually in a Western setting. It's in Sepia Town. Batman, Azrael, Batgirl, and Gordon are all cowboys, and saying that Scratch and his pack of owl hoots have taken over the town. And Azrael and Scratch have a good old-fashioned gunfight showdown. Azrael, or as they call him, the Angelic Kid, more of a cowboy name, he wins. And Azrael wakes up. This was obviously a dream. He's still in Leslie's clinic helping her out, and he fell asleep reading some trashy Western paperback he picked up when he couldn't find supplies. And Leslie's like, "This is garbage," but Azrael kind of likes it, he says. And I think this was probably meant to. I think the idea here is that later on we definitely get into the recurring theme of Leslie Tompkins, where she's pretty much a pacifist. She doesn't approve of Batman's violent methods, but Azrael kind of likes the gunslinger stories. Leslie thinks it's crap, and that's probably meant to represent their conflicting philosophies, even though it's kind of a not a super serious example, obviously. But anyway, this former cop gets shot by some criminal who had a grudge against him. Batgirl has, I think, her first fight scene in the Batgirl costume, if I remember right. She throws a batarang at him. It's like a ninja star-shaped batarang, and they beat him easily. They take the wounded man to the hospital, and they realize to their surprise he's been shot with a bullet. There's somehow bullets in Gotham now. And let's see. Batgirl and Azrael go back to the guy they just beat up to try and find some stuff out. Batman comes to the clinic, reminds Azrael that he gave him one job to take down Nicholas Scratch. And word gets out that Scratch is having this big rally speech or whatever. We briefly see some villains sizing him up, talking about what they think about this, which is kind of fun. Like, Two-Face wants to keep an eye on him, Penguin wants to join up with him, and Joker's just off in his own little world, basically. And so Jean-Paul, carrying his Azrael suit in a briefcase, walks with Batgirl to the meeting place, and he's very chatty here because she doesn't talk, so he's doing all the talking and explaining how the suit gives him his powers and makes him angry or whatever. And they managed to sneak into the rally. Meanwhile, Nightwing and Robin are keeping watch on a gargoyle. They don't really play into this story much, but Tim makes a D-Day comparison, and Dick says, "Oh, you paid attention in history," and he's like, "Oh no, I'm not up to that yet, but I saw the Spielberg movie, referring obviously to Saving Private Ryan, which would have been released the previous year, I believe, 1998. This is 99, correct?"
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so still like very current reference at the time. That movie was pretty instantly popular and acclaimed. So yeah, and it's kind of maybe an interesting phrasing that he doesn't say Saving Private Ryan. He just says the Spielberg movie, and we as the readers know what they're talking about, obviously. But meanwhile, Jean Paul sneaks into the rally. Azrael gives his rousing speech, and he's even crazier now. And it turns out that he's brought a bunch of weapons and ammunition in. That's why there's bullets. And he's telling the people who've been left behind in Gotham that, oh no, you weren't left behind because you were dumb or because you couldn't afford to get out or because you're the dregs. No, you guys are the chosen. Create, we're gonna be a new society. We're just gonna shoot down anyone who disagrees with us, and then we're just gonna take over the rest of the country. So he's got very big, grandiose plans. Like they're gonna be,
And the
what's it?
world. He's like
Oh
we'll
yeah,
get to the world as well.
oh yeah, a continent, a hemisphere, and a world, and we shall all be gods. And he mentions his origin again, how he was struck by alien lightning. I think he mentions a couple times in this story, like the aliens promised him like glory and whatever. So it's a very strange character with a very vague mythology, but entertaining in his way. Very, very 90s, obviously, in his look.
Yeah,
um,
I don't remember if we pointed out in the first place, but his origin is basically the exact same as the Flash's in a way.
Kinda, yeah, except like he was all like heavy and schlubby before, and then he
Yeah,
turned like, and it's a different power set, obviously, but
yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, as far
But
as
yeah,
like,
struck by lightning with the chemicals, yeah, it's pretty much the same thing as the Flash.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, the crowd is very gung ho about getting these weapons and shooting everybody. I guess that's what several months in No Man's Land does to you. And Scratch is a very convincing speaker somehow. Um, and Jean Paul tries to run off with a gun, and yeah, basically he gets punched out by Nick Scratch, and he's standing over him menacingly, recognizes him as Azrael, and then it's continued in the next issue. So yeah, even though this is, yeah, the first half of the story of two issues, I kind of feel like a lot of the overall plot points were in this issue as opposed to the next one, where the next one's mostly the climax. Um, I thought I did a good job of setting up the next issue and the conflict with Scratch. That's kind of the culmination of what this Azrael No Man's Land stuff has been building up to. Um, the Western thing was either a little on the nose or a little out of place, but it was fun. We got to see some fun little Western Batman designs. So, and the sepia toned art was kind of neat. I'm liking Roger Robinson's art still. He's got a fun kind of cartoony style. But it's it, like it's pretty consistently like it's consistently enjoyable. So yeah, not like a lot better or worse than most of the Azrael issues in here, but I thought this is a decent one. What do you think?
yeah. I enjoyed it. I think the Western opening for a second I was really confused. Like I thought the whole issue was going to be some kind of dream sequence or more of it. But it's just a weird, fun way to open. I would say for people who are intrigued by Western DC, um, well, this version sort of check out the Elseworlds one shot Justice Riders, which features essentially the Justice League in a Western kind of uh, form. But yeah, this issue's fun. I think the Batgirl and Azrael combo is actually pretty interesting because they have interesting differences between them. Where Azrael, out of all the Bat family, I feel like he's kind of the most blunt force and in your face, and in a way that actually also applies to Batgirl, but at the same time, she's more stealthy and everything like that. Obviously, she can't speak. And on that point, Azrael is, he's of all the Bat characters, he's obviously emblematic of the '90s, co-created by Joe Quesada, um, through the whole Nightfall saga and everything like that. And he has this edgy personality where he's always doubting himself or questioning his uses of violence and things like that. And it works well played off against Cass at this moment because she's completely silent. So it's kind of similar to the Batman and Robin interplay, where obviously they created Robin to so that kids could relate to Batman and the character, the franchise, and everything like that. But another convenience of having a sidekick is that the main hero and vice versa can just dump exposition through dialogue since they have someone to talk to rather than just monotone inner narration, which makes them sound a little crazy, or sounding even crazier if they're just talking to themselves out loud. Um, but yeah, and it's called attention to here, where it's like John Paul talks about how Cass is quiet, so he won't shut up or something like that. And he explains this nonsense, which again I haven't read like that much early Azrael and everything like that, so I don't fully understand like his quote unquote powers and stuff. But in this issue, he quickly explains to Cass like his nonsensical thing about how putting on his costume, despite the fact that this is a new costume for just a few issues, it like makes him edgy and angry and violent. The quick peek in Nightwing and Robin, I think, is handled well as far as the pacing of the issue, and it's nice to see. I like how a lot of the No Man's Land arcs or issues have kind of turned the camera to the other side for like a page or two and shown you what someone else is up to.
Oh yeah.
Between them. And yeah, Scratch is just, we've already talked about Scratch a lot. He's just ridiculous, very cartoony, both in appearance and character. But I kind of dig it. Like he kind of is just like eating the scenery and or however you say it. He's just over the top, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So
It's maybe almost
go
too
ahead.
obvious to maybe almost too obvious to mention, but a similarity between Azrael and Batgirl is that they're both trained to be assassins against their will. Well, Azrael was like conditioned or something. I don't know if that counted as real training, whatever happened to him. But yes, I think that's interesting. They're both like
Yeah.
trained to be assassins but don't want to kill people or don't want to be dark and violent, but they still are anyway. So yeah, just
Yeah,
quite
they're also, from Bruce's perspective, they're obviously the two rookies.
right.
And so like if Bruce was a different kind of superhero, it may be like, oh, let me take the rookie Batgirl and with me, the most experienced one, so that she can know she can watch from the best and not be in too much danger and stuff like that. But Bruce's nature, it's like, all right, you two have to prove yourself. You two are new, so you two are going to do this task. So moving into number 57. So Azrael, we open with Azrael essentially in the grasp of Scratch at his rally, but he convinces Scratch to delay his death and eventually put his costume on because like that'll be more humiliating for him or more emblematic. Of course, Scratch doesn't know that his stupid costume makes him like stronger. Um, and in the meantime, Cass is sneaking around. She's kind of doing some stuff. But Az doesn't want himself freed because he has his own plan running along. And she steals basically a bunch of guns which foils Scratch's long-term plans. Even though I don't remember if we really get back to like the ultimate fate of this massive amount of guns and ammo. Cass just kind of like takes it somewhere, and then I don't think we come back to it in this arc at least. Um, and then Scratch has everyone stone Azrael for a little bit, but now having his mask on, he can break free of the chains. We get classic Superman or Wonder Woman-esque breaking of the chains moment. And at that same time, Batgirl swings in, and Azrael kind of plays the crowd where the people are apprehensive of who to follow. They're like, oh, do I follow Scratch or do I follow Azrael? And who's the good guy here, or who's more likely to win, and everything like that. We finally get a fist to fist Azrael versus Nicholas Scratch fight. And I thought this fight was really great. I thought it was handled really well artistically. There's a really cool, it's not a full page. It's like, I think it's like half or 2/3 of a page where you see in the background are multiple panels. There's like 6 panels of just like very classic style, like Jack Kirby-esque or whoever, beat by beat action storytelling. And then in the foreground, you see like essentially like a silhouette, an enlarged silhouette that you would see like on a splash page or something. So you kind of have both effects where you see the huge like static action shot, and then you see the storytelling, and then layered on top of each other like that. Like that's my favorite page in this episode by far. And some of the great stuff that we've seen actually on this podcast in general. I believe last episode I was really impressed by some of the art choices, and maybe the episode before that. So I think we're in a good period of art where maybe for a tiny bit, like at the end of like Road 2 or something, I think we were going a little bit down on the art, some of our opinions. But for me, it's going back up. But he beats Scratch, and so Scratch is essentially out of the game. They get some loot for Leslie. Scratch had some other gear, some medical supplies and things like that. And I think, and that was actually part of their motivation to go do this. Obviously, they had the mission from Bruce to get Scratch, but also when when they found the guy with the bullet and everything like that, they also knew that Scratch had certain medical supplies like iodine. And so they give that to Leslie, and Leslie kind of judges Azrael for being violent, but sort of doesn't. And that's the end here. Scratch is off the board, though I will note that this is not the last appearance of Nicholas Scratch. He obviously doesn't die here. He appears in 2 more arcs just in Azrael, but both of those are after No Man's Land. So we will not see Nicholas Scratch again. This is our farewell.
So is he basically Azrael's arch enemy, or?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read
Azrael villains.
Yeah, I haven't read that much Azrael before and after No Man's Land, so I'm not sure if I'm missing something else that's major. But if you just do the math and like break it down, yeah, I would say Nicholas Scratch is Azrael's nemesis, at least in this, in this run, in this solo series. Because I think we pointed this out, but I think he appears, in fact, in Azrael right before Cataclysm. So we, in fact, I don't think we even read the first appearance of Nicholas Scratch.
Yeah,
But I don't know. Again, I think he's wacky and fun. He's so wacky that he becomes fun.
Yeah.
So what did you think of this last issue, and I guess this arc in general as we head toward the conclusion?
Yeah, it was good. These were probably 2 of the better Azrael issues that really flowed together as one story, which was cool. The action scene where they finally fight fist to fist was great, as you were saying. The page you described in detail, especially, was a really great moment. Yeah, I think this was a good conclusion to the subplot, which is kind of a big subplot when you consider that it's the whole No Man's Land is kind of Scratch's fault the way they're framing it, but
Yeah, I mean, actually, if you think too hard about Scratch, a lot of things sort of don't add up, or they're not very like conclusive or satisfying, because he ultimately was, or he's portrayed as the one who essentially lobbied to make it No Man's Land.
yeah,
And then, like, what was his plan at that point? And did it change between then and now? Because now he just shows up in Gotham and he's like, I mean, he kind of becomes closer to the Joker, but
yeah,
like a Joker that wants to like lead a cult in a way, where ultimately like his short term goal is just chaos. Like, let's kill a bunch of people randomly, and well, and sort of take over the territory. It's not totally random, but then like, and then he goes out from No Man's Land. But like, how does the status quo of No Man's Land help him in the long term? It's all very, I don't know. There's definitely questions there, but
yeah,
it doesn't bother me.
yeah.
So any final thoughts, or I think we covered a lot of it.
Uh, yeah, I think we covered most of what I'd want to talk about. Yeah,
All right.
good.
Well, that was scratched out. A lean two issues, and as we said, concluding something, a part of No Man's Land that's been running a long time, going back to the very beginning of Cataclysm. That's this episode. Thanks for watching. Tune in next time, and next time we will be covering the arc Fruit of the Earth, which involves Poison Ivy and Clayface. So, and a major status quo change for Poison Ivy. So be on the lookout for that, and have a good time.